Hello, welcome back to the podcast. Today we're talking all things normalizing transition shock. So many of you loved the Changing Career Specialties podcast that I did earlier this year. If you haven't listened to it, go and have a listen to it. And one thing that comes up a lot for people is that they want to make a shift, they want to make a change, but they're so fearful of the change experience and they're so fearful of being a beginner again. And I get it. Oh my goodness. I feel like every day being a nursepreneur, I have to become a beginner again. I'm relearning, I'm unlearning, I'm double learning things over and over again so that I can embed it within my neural pathways to be able to get to a point where I feel like I've mastered something. But I want to normalize today the transition shock period of any change in your nursing career. It's coaching our grads today in our GCLP for 2023. And by the way, we've had 65 incredible grads that joined us in our GCLP. That was in our full program. And they've all landed dream jobs, first preferences, multiple opportunities, inside, outside graduate programs, and being international nurses. Who would have thought? We've really shown them what is possible when you believe in yourself and you go all in on your dreams and you make it happen. But now they're getting to a point where they're saying, Liam, this is so well and good. Got my dream job. It's great. The mindset stuff from the GCLP has been amazing. Loved getting to know myself a little bit better and building my self-confidence. But I'm nervous. I'm so nervous. Can you relate? I'm so nervous going into my next role. And for our grads, it's their first role. But for many of you, it might be moving into another position. And I want to normalize that today because nerves doesn't mean that something has gone wrong. And I want to maybe teach you two aspects or two things to consider here. So the first thing is that nervousness is an emotion. It's a feeling. Okay. And we teach here the self-coaching model, which teaches us that circumstances, everything that happens outside in the world is neutral until we have a thought about it in our subconscious brain. That thought that we have, that subconsciously we've practiced believing time and time again, creates an emotion, a feeling. That feeling generates our actions and our inactions. And the actions and inactions dictate our experience of the circumstance, of the world. They create our results. So when you plug when you plug nervousness, I'm all nervous system done. When you plug nervousness into the model, it goes in the F feeling line, okay? So we can look at it and go, okay, I'm feeling nervous. What am I thinking that's generating the emotion of nervousness? And when I asked that today, the grad that was being coached said, oh, like I'm just so worried that I'm not going to be good enough. I'm not capable of being a nurse. I said, okay, that's really good to know. And I was like, how factually true is that? And they said, well, it's not factually true. It's just something that I've practiced believing for the last couple of years. I said, well, it makes complete sense that you're feeling nervous right now. And arguably, some people could say you want to feel a little bit nervous. Nervousness is like an embedded safety mechanism. Nervousness is not something to fear. It's not like something's gone wrong. It's not something bad. It's a safety mechanism. It's going to make you a little bit more cautious in your approach to your nursing role or your new opportunity during the transition period. So I coached this individual and I said, hey, nervousness is totally normal here. You get to decide your experience of the world. You get to decide how you feel going into your grad. So their circumstance was a new graduate nursing position starting in March next year. Their thought was, I'm not sure that I'm capable of being a grad. They felt nervous when they thought that thought, which makes sense, right? Like they connect together beautifully. And the actions that they take when they are feeling nervous is that they overthink, they worry, they spend a lot of time procrastinating, they maybe don't study their resources or their nursing information before they start. And maybe they are like, like overindulging in confusion and worry and stress. And the result is that they make it impossible to not be nervous. They make it impossible to be capable of being a graduate nurse because they're so wrapped up in the nervousness, okay? Now, what's important to recognize here is that nervousness, that whole model that we just went through there is just operating behind the scenes. It just happened like that, straight off the bat. That is your nervous system at play. Anything that you've practiced in the past, anything that you have learned, that you've been conditioned into, that you have believed over time, that you've felt over time, will always be our default strategy. That's where we will always go. That's our operating system. Now, the beautiful thing about you guys listening is you get to, with this tool. And with these tools, you get to question, is that operating system helping me and serving me? So for many of you, you might want to keep that little approach there. You might want to be comfortable sitting with like, I don't feel like I'm capable. We want to make sure that going into your nursing position that you can see that that is just how you've believed or how you've practiced thinking for the last 3 years, but you also want to question, is that going to get me to where I want to be? Is that going to allow me to be the best, most aware and alert and safe graduate nurse? Or is it going to add to my fear and nervousness and my my lack of safety as a nurse? Because going in from that nervousness place could create more issues moving forward. So we've got to find the balance and find the fine line. For many of you, you might want to do what we call like a bit of a thought swap. And you might want to, once you've seen that thought and you see that it creates nervousness and the actions that you take and the result that you create in the world from that place of nervousness, you might decide that's not how I want to show up. And that's great. And for those of you, you get to redefine and you get to practice new thoughts and new neural pathways to be able to create the result and the experience of your new grad nursing role or your new nursing position. So the circumstance stays the same. I have a new grad or I have a new nursing position. The thought is where you get to be creative. What thought feels doable, accessible to you? For many of you, it might be like, I'm capable of asking questions if I'm unsure. That feels like doable. I'm not going from like, I feel I'm capable to like, I'm so capable. I'm so great. I think so many of us think we've got to jump from one end of the spectrum to the other, but we don't. We get to decide. It's your own brain. Whatever happens in there, you get to decide. But we can just move ever so slightly, just like a slight degree. I mean, say, okay, I previously have told myself for 3 years that I'm not capable, but I actually have 3 years of evidence to prove that I am capable and I've got a job in my dream specialty. So I better ditch that thought. It's not going to get me to my goal. And I appreciate that I've practiced that thought maybe 20,000 times. So now I get to decide a new thought and I get to lift that new thought weight and practice that and embed that into my neural pathways and my amazing brain so that I create a different emotional experience of being a new grad. This is just practice. Some people can just do it. I have to practice it over and over and over again. And I notice these little creepy thoughts come back and they're saying, no, I'm choosing not to believe that anymore. I am capable of asking questions when I'm unsure. How do you feel when you tell yourself that? It's a different emotion, right? I don't feel as nervous anymore. I feel like safe or certain or optimistic, hopeful. I don't feel the nervousness. You've got to really develop the skill set of tuning into your body during a transition and getting out of our mind and into our body. Like, how do I actually feel when I tell myself, like, I'm capable of asking questions? You notice that people tend to feel a bit more relieved when we just reframe something. It's the same situation, but your brain can create any kind of thought that you want to think in that moment. So why not choose a thought that empowers you, that serves you, that moves you forward towards the goal? So let's say we go with that thought of, hey, like, I've noticed that this is how I'm operating. I don't want to operate like that. My thought is that I'm capable of asking a question if I'm uncertain. And I feel safe. When I feel safe, I put my hand up to answer questions. I do the homework before I go to my grad program. I research the organization a little bit more. I keep building belief in myself. I support my decision. I support myself. As a result, I create safety in my new graduate program because I know whatever comes up, I will ask. And if there's no one there, I will find somebody to ask before I do the thing, therefore making me safe. Notice the power of reframing our thoughts and generating different emotional experiences during our transition. You all have access to this. It's called your brain. Okay? And I want you to leverage it in the transition. So that was one thing that came up today, which was the nervousness. And how do we navigate nervousness? And I just want to normalize it. Of course you're nervous. If you're feeling underconfident, of course I'm underconfident. For the last 3 years, I've told myself that I'm not good enough. Right? Over the last 3 years, somebody's told me I'm not good enough and I've believed them. Of course, it makes complete sense, right? It makes complete sense that my brain is telling me that you're underconfident, that I'm not good enough. But you get to decide in this moment, is that true? And do you want to keep believing that to get you to your goal? The power of the mind is insane. It has changed my life. It's changed our grads' lives. It's helped them see that they are capable of doing hard things, and so are you, even during a transition. Now, the other thing that we talked about is normalizing the transition shock experience. You've all gone through this. We've all had multiple transitions, multiple changes that have happened in our life and our careers. And for many of you, you've just navigated it with ease because maybe it's just been embedded within your neural pathways that change is like part of life. Some of us find it very deeply challenging, and it can throw up all of our shit, all of our mental and emotional shit. So when you're becoming a graduate nurse and you're starting your first week, or maybe you're moving into your next nursing role, everybody goes through the Dunning-Kruger effect, okay? This is a visual, which I've posted many times online, and you can just Google it, the Dunning-Kruger effect. And what they talk about is, they talk about how with starting something new and transitioning into a new experience, be it at work or in home, that we go from this state of being very low in confidence to having an initial peak of confidence within the first couple of days of experiencing the change, and then very slowly we realize, oh my goodness, there's so much more to this. But over time, we build we build competence and confidence, so we get to a stage where we master whatever it is that we're working towards. This is change. This is normal. Nothing has gone wrong. So many of you will be on the Facebook groups 3 days into your grads being like, I don't know that I can do this. That's totally normal. I totally hear you. But you're going through the cycle of change and transition. So instead of thinking that you can't do it, what if you were changing your mindset to be like, this is normal. On day 3, of course I should feel like I don't know what I'm doing because it's day 3. Alleviate the pressure from yourself. Give yourself space. Give yourself the safety of knowing that nothing's gone wrong and you're not crazy and you've not lost all of your knowledge within 3 seconds. Like, it's just part of the process. Every role that you go to, every transition that you experience in your life and your career, you will go from this state of being like, okay, new job, I'm nervous, I'm excited, I'm confident, I'm certain that I can ask questions if I'm unsure. I show up to orientation. And then watch the Dunning-Kruger effect just play out. Okay, day 2, like I did one day. Oh my goodness, I can do this. I think I could maybe be a nurse, you know? And then like the next day you go in and suddenly we're doing pumps and maybe we're doing the medication calculations and we're looking at X, Y, and Z and we're learning all the new systems. And our brain's like, oh shit, like there's more to this than just the nursing stuff that I learned at school. Okay. So I've got more learning to do. There's more things that I need to do. And then we go down into what they call the valley of despair. And we're like, day 4, we should do this, like day 4 as a nurse on TikTok. Day 4 as a nurse. Oh my God. Like medications is much harder when you're an RN than a student. And it took me 4 hours to do my med rounds. What's wrong with me? But I may never understand how to do this. Like, how am I ever going to remember all the medications that my patients have with their polypharmacy? How am I going to remember to do that referral via this pathway? Listen, this is normal. You're in the valley of despair. You're in a place where you're like, oh my God, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to do this. But you are going to be able to do it because you're going to keep doing it. You're going to keep repeating it. Anything new is just shocking to the brain because your brain just wants to operate as efficiently as possible. It's like a ventilator in an ICU. It just wants to be efficient, to give the breath, and that's it. And no extra work included. That's why they're now so efficient. They're so smart. You're so smart. You're just navigating change. Nothing has gone wrong. So as you get to that place of like, I don't know if I'm ever going to know this, you start to build confidence and competence. As you keep repeating the task over and over again, you're building new neural pathways. You're showing yourself that you are capable of doing hard things. And you start to build this little spike where you get to a point of mastery. And guess what happens? When you hit mastery, you guessed it, you find something else that you want to do, a new skill, a new competency, a new role, a new master's, a new certification, and you go through the Dunning-Kruger effect again. And you will have it. But each time you're building capacity in your system, you're building resilience in your ability to navigate change. People see change as a really negative thing. Change is inevitable. The more that you can accept this experience, the more you can allow the discomfort of the Dunning-Kruger effect, the more that you can step into the fact that you are a beginner again and that you're going to feel all your feelings and all the emotions are going to come up. and you're going to think that you're not good enough, and you're going to have all the thoughts, the more that you can allow yourself to experience that without shame and guilt and fear and worry and stress and anxiety and depression, all of the things, the more you will actively increase your tolerance to change and adversity. We need nurses that are change adversity flexible. I just made that up. But we need people that are flexible in their response to change, not stuck and fixed. We need them to understand, like, this makes complete sense, that I feel great on day 1 and by day 3 I feel like shit. I don't know what I'm doing. But I trust and believe in myself that I have the skills, the knowledge, the experience to move forward and to get to the point of mastery where I feel like, oh my God, was this easy to achieve? No. But did I do it? Yes. And you rinse and repeat and you show your brain, I've done this before, I can do it again. I've done this before, I can do it again. Navigating transition shock is a skill set. It's a superhuman skill that's going to come up time and time again. So offer yourself compassion in this transition. Offer yourself the support. Normalize every experience that you go through. Normalize the fact that you are going to feel all the emotions. Nothing has gone wrong. I would love to hear how this has helped you, supported you in your transition, whether you're a grad or a non-grad. The same is true. Maybe you've just had more experiences of transition, so this seems like it's very familiar. But if this is your first time transitioning into a role, into a professional role, this will be your experience. And I hope I don't see you in the Facebook groups making the comments like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, does it get better? Yes, it does get better over time. Build the trust and the capacity within yourself to be able to navigate these changes, to navigate these transitions. And you, my friend, will make it possible within your nursing career. And you'll just keep doing it time and time again. And it will become something that you do with ease. I'll see you next week. Hey, thanks so much for listening. I'm so privileged that you spent your time with us here today. Hey, can I ask a favor? If you know someone that would benefit from this podcast episode, please share it with them. The more you share, the more we get in front of amazing nurses and we're able to help them see that nursing on their terms across their career is totally possible for them. So I'd love if you could do that. Now, I will see you in the next episode next week. Until then, let's make this year the year that you nurse on your terms. Are you ready? Let's do it.